Hi, Professor Dahaner. This is Harasa, and this is the final What Makes a Relationship Good project. The two relationship types that I chose are friendship and romance. This is going to be what makes friendship a good friendship. Friends are a core piece of development. From the time that we leave our parents' side and we venture into the world, whether that be in a small bubble for a few minutes or going to school, we interact with our peers and our friends. And our peer relationships are some of the most impactful, in fact. Research has shown that other than our parents, we learn the most from our peer group and our friends than anyone else in the world, which is pretty crazy. We don't really learn from our teachers all that much. Yeah, they're around them most of the time, but we're really mimicking our friends, not the role models that we should be, which is kind of scary when you think about a kid growing up and mimicking the people that they are around. The friendship is a very complicated relationship that is built on trust and the idea of mutuality. As a result, its bonds are looser than romantic and family relationships because they are held together simply by the idea that they want to be held together. But alternatively, this can also make it one of the most fulfilling relationships because it's entirely based on mutuality. Three core elements that make a friendship strong and mutually satisfying are a mutual trust bond, genuine respect for each party, and seeking for and extending forgiveness to each other. Now, a mutual trust. This is hard to make on its own. Trust is not something that can just be given. It is earned. And as a result, research has shown that trust between peers can be some of the strongest in any other relationship, far stronger than work. Research by Daniel Foster, Joseph Billingsley, Yinny Burnett et al. Found that apologies and verbalizing them specifically and the potential impact that you may have foreseen as the sender, as the aggriever, as the aggressor, actually really does have an impact on relationship value. The more important the relationship, the more likely the person is to seek a genuine apology and to give a genuine apology to the aggrieved party. Now, in addition, a double randomization test to see whether apologies actually do correlate to causing forgiveness and boosting that relationship value actually does in fact show a strong positive correlation between verbalizing that apology and actually receiving forgiveness from the aggrieved party. Now, what are some of the tasks to go about forgiveness and seeking and extending it? Task 1, you're going to be confronting the transgression. Now, this seems like a monumental task in the moment, especially if some time has passed and it isn't fresh in everyone's mind. However, it's important to acknowledge the wrongdoing that has been committed, and responsibility should be established at this time. It's important to question the unethical behavior that took place, and also to confess any lasting thoughts or impacts that one might be carrying. Now, in task 2, it's important to assess that impact that we just established. Managing your emotions, we're going to take a look at our feelings, both the sender and the receiver, the one who's asking for forgiveness and the one who's deciding whether or not they're ready to extend forgiveness. We need to take a look at our nonverbals. How are we feeling? Are we feeling closed off, rigid, or more open? Body language can tell us a lot, and as a result, it's important to also verbalize and label our feelings no matter what they are. It's also important to notice those hidden emotions we might try to hide from even ourselves, and identify the source and classify them into what type of emotion they're feeling. Online therapy websites have great resources if you're looking for a way to categorize your emotions. This is something that's helped me. Actually, one of the things I learned in this class that's related to forgiveness and managing emotions is alexithymia. I had taken a test before and had already known that I was probably alexithymic, but to take the test in class was a new perspective, right? And as a result, it made me more aware of the fact that I'm very good at noticing emotions in others, but not so much in myself. I am the type of person who likes to just kind of be a robot and do what I'm supposed to be doing. But when it comes to forgiveness and being a good friend, and also being a good romance partner, but specifically being a good friend in this context, it's important to notice and understand those emotions and actually verbalize them. That's really hard for me, but I have to get over the problems that I feel and actually say them out loud, because those emotions just aren't for me as only. They're also for my talking partner. They're also for my communication partner, and I owe that to my partner to explain what I'm feeling and thinking. And task 3 is engage in sense making. Now we're going to rationalize the hard feelings that we're going through. The grieved party, now it's their turn to listen to the motivations, the magnitude, the context, and what the aggrieved griever hopes to have in the relationship in the future. Then it's their turn. The explanations have a lot to do with the weight and the intent and motivations regarding the actual violation of boundaries that had taken place in the past. Now, task 4 is the forgiver's turn. We're going to be seeking forgiveness. We're going to be verbalizing the fact that we're asking for forgiveness and assessing how sincere the person is sounding and feeling. The seeker should express regret and go through as much of an empathetic soul searching that they can before discussing it with the forgiver. Then it's important to go through together task 6 and negotiate the values and rules going forward into the relationship. Clarifying the values and rules that will govern the new relationship, as well as actually taking the time to do some boundary pushing. Okay, well, what if it's also important to openly discuss what roadblocks or challenges our new relationship going forward might encounter. Romantic relationships are some of the closest relationships that two people can have with each other. They are built off of shared foundational values, cultural traditions that can be meshed into a new set for a new family. And ultimately, the ultimate goal of a romantic relationship is to see if long-term compatibility is possible. There are many factors that go into a good romantic relationship, and I just want to go over a few of them today. We're going to be exploring a romantic relationship from the context of trust and mutual respect, communication, shared values, and verbalizing apologies and forgiveness through a multi-step process as both the sender and receiver. Now, our identities as people are multidimensional and they're fluid. They're full of bubbles and segmentations. Something that we went over in class that was really meaningful to me was the idea and really just mapping it out. I took that idea home and I went home and I drew out the maps and the bubbles of the identity that makes me me. And something that I found to be really interesting was the audience segmentation. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to cut that. Research into the identity segmentation theory found it to be very interesting how we break down our identity. We break it down, we can segment types of communication into impersonal and interpersonal communication. And the type of communication that focuses on roles and responsibilities and what we have to do as people is our impersonal communication. This is where we put a heavy emphasis on the role and the way that we're supposed to play that role: parent, daughter, wife, husband, etc. And it is important also for us to not conflate short or normal events with insignificance. Oftentimes we as humans will conflate a normal occurrence of going to the grocery store as being an insignificant event. However, that can have really impactful building on a romantic relationship. When you're creating the idea of the map of the relationship you want to have, you start from the inside and you build outward. You build upon a communications method such as nexting. Building outward what we see on the inside, positive outcomes from the inside outward. Many challenges exist between romantic relationships. And research by Coletta and Ross talked about differences in romantic relationships. Males were more likely to extend forgiveness by minimization and ignoring the impact both emotionally and psychologically on themselves. They're the kind that often will brush it off and throw it behind them and forget about it. Whereas women are more often likely to extend a conditional forgiveness. I'll forgive you if you change yourself in this ways. Now, how does this impact our relationships romantically? Now, there are 4 specific arenas of one's identity that we should be aware of. Our public identity, which Gottman talks a whole lot about, in fact, is the entire center of the front stage communication. It's the part that we put forward to the rest of the world. This is me. I am the most positive version of myself that you want to see, you want to like, you want to be around this version of me. Then we have our quadrant 2. This is unknown. This is unknown to both ourselves and to others. And as a result, it is hidden. Mostly hidden to us, but also hidden to others as well. But once we become aware of it, it moves from quadrant 2, the unknown, into quadrant 3, the hidden sector. This is where it is known to us and hidden to others. We may consider this to be our backstage communication. Or we may also not want others to know because we are embarrassed. It may hold some of our darker spheres of communication and challenges that we have. And lastly, we have our unknown area. Neither ourselves or others are aware of this quadrant. It just occurred to me that in quadrant 2 earlier, I called the unknown area, it's actually called the blind area. It's unknown to others and yourself. And then now we're in the actual unknown area, which is neither yourself or others. Now, again, what does this mean for our romantic relationships? To overcome some of the challenges, it is important for us to look inwards and visualize what we want from our relationships clearly and concisely. And we also have to be aware of our perceptions. Each and every one of us has an unconscious, natural process for processing information that begins with our senses, our 5 senses, and goes all the way through defining the variables, attributing a meaning to them, putting a feeling with it. And oftentimes those can get conflated. A feeling can get conflated with a variable and what the logical attribution to it means. As a result, it's important and it can be helpful to use a tag called the Communistar. It starts with sense, where you will say to your partner, I have noticed, or I have seen, I have heard, and then you fill in something that you've noticed. Then you're going to open with the feelings. I feel, and you're going to follow this up with a soul word. That means sad, grumpy, happy, gloomy, you name it. If it's a word, probably an adverb, it's going to be there. Then, now you're going to go into thinking. I think This made me think that you didn't take out the trash, which made me think you like living in a messy house. You fill in the blanks. Then it's important to verbalize out loud the wants and the goals you are seeking from the partner. And lastly, it's important to identify what you're willing to put forward to help make those needs or wants be met. I noticed that the trash can wasn't taken out last night and the trash man came this morning. This made me feel sad because I thought you like living in a messy house. I want to have a clean house. If I put the trash bag by the door, will that remind you to take the trash can out tomorrow? Or whatever the situation may be, you can fill in the blanks with what you think it is. Romantic relationships can have lots of challenges, but by working together with your partner, being honest, asking for apology or asking for forgiveness and extending it to your partner, showing mutual trust and respect, and having a strong foundational shared value system